I'm going to be working with Castor on some more lunging, some desensitizing to the rope, and then work on our leading. So I'm just going to ask him to step over and go in a lunging circle, which he does beautifully. The line was nice and slack. He's going off of the feel of the rope. That looked beautiful. I love his circle and his bend through his body. You can see that inside hind leg stepping up underneath him. Beautiful. Like he's got a perfect lunging. Like he looks great. So I just had him go for a circle, and then I clicked him while he was on the circle and doing it correctly. And that's really how he's gotten to this point so quickly. It's because I'm rewarding all those little things, and he just wants to do them more. So that looks beautiful. I'm going to do a little bit of desensitizing in between. So I don't really do a lot of desensitizing anymore because with positive reinforcement, I do it in a different way. It's like more conditioning than anything, which I'll explain in a different video. But right now, this was when I was mixing a lot, and I'm using some negative reinforcement here and just kind of touching him with the driving whip here. He's totally cool with it. He did it well. This might scare some horses though, so I wouldn't recommend it for everybody. I was just taking the opportunity while he was chewing his treat to go ahead and just desensitize him to the whip a little bit. Then we send him off the other way, and I'm asking him to bring that inside hind leg over when I pick my rope up like that, which is going to be the beginning of the hind quarter yield and then changing the directions and so on. But it also gives the horse that bend that you see him have while he's going around. He's bent on the circle. So that looked beautiful. Go ahead, desensitize on this other side while he's chewing. I'm just going to fast forward through that a little bit. But it looks great. Again, beautiful, soft movement off of that lead rope pressure. I also have the mounting block still as like a little bit of a barrier. You gotta be careful though so you don't get that lead line stuck on it. But I feel like it's probably more for my peace of mind than anything else. I don't really think it's going to help me. Beautiful hind quarter yield there. A little stiff, a little tense, but he responded to the rope really well. So I did like that part of it. But I do a little bit more desensitizing here. But as far as the mounting block goes, like the idea would be okay, if he got scared, he'd probably go away from me. So it's probably for my peace of mind than anything else. I don't know if it would necessarily help me, but that's why I have it there. I just like to start him off doing that. Later on, he can go and go around the round or around the mounting block or just in a space where it's not there. But I just kind of like having that was kind of handy. So do a little bit more desensitizing, let him hang out and chew on his treat here, and then I'll ask him again. Very nice. I love how responsive he is to this. With the Mustangs, both of them, I really didn't have any problems with that at all. Once you start using the positive reinforcement, I haven't had a problem with that at all. So beautiful. I love that hind quarter yield there. Looks so much softer than the one we just saw. He kind of thought about it a little bit more. His head was still a little bit high, but not too bad. I like that he just kind of rolled around into it. He didn't get super tense. And then I'll do a little bit more desensitizing here. And he doesn't seem to care too much about this driving whip, but when I was doing a lot of negative reinforcement, you really had to balance it out. So right now, he's not being driven forward with that driving whip. Like, say he's kind of going on his own. That's okay. He's just anticipating because that's what's earned him a reward in the past. And that was actually really nice. Hind credit yield. And he's just kind of offering me things, which is fine. He's just being like, okay, well, I can do this. And he actually did a really nice backup there because he then thought once I yielded him, maybe, oh, I'll go off to his right there or his left in a left-hand circle, and I asked him to back up, and he was really good about that. So he's just trying to offer something that I've rewarded previously. So back to what I was talking about with the negative reinforcement. When you're driving horse forward with the whip, with negative reinforcement or with any object or rope, whatever, you really have to balance it out so the horse is not afraid of it. So you have to, because basically you're chasing it with that object, and then when they stop, you're like rubbing it with them. You're like, okay, well I asked you to move, but it's not scary, kind of a thing, which with positive reinforcement you don't really need to do. Really, now I don't use the driving whip in a whip form whatsoever. It's a target. I have like a little pool noodle piece on the end, and he follows it, which I prefer much better now. But this is just the training that happened at the time. So if that's something you're interested in, you can use it. If not, then we can just learn from it. That's what I did. So, but that's why I'm doing so much desensitizing is even though I'm using positive reinforcement and rewarding him for going forward and doing the things I want, I'm still technically chasing him with that whip because I'm holding it up. I'm pushing him away from it. So that's what I'm doing with that. And I just use it as a target now. So then you don't have that chasing. You don't have that anxiety that comes with chasing. So beautiful circle. Again, get my rope out of the way so it doesn't get caught on there. I don't want to scare him. I'm asking him to go into a trot. I just want him to go one stride, and that's why he stopped so quick, because he got it one stride, I clicked, and he stopped, and I gave him his treat. So that looked beautiful. So one thing I definitely would change, which I want to change a lot of things about this, but again, experimenting, you live and you learn, would be how I taught him to go forward at the trot and the canter during this time. Because he, even now, with following the target, he wants to be a bit tense, so you could see that trot. It doesn't look too bad. Sometimes he moves with tension, and I don't want to add that in there because with riding and stuff, you don't want any of that tension. So felt like he held on to that just because of me using the whip to get him to go forward. And now I'm really undoing a lot of that. So I just think it would have been a lot easier from the beginning to have him to trot forward from to the target, not from anything, just following the target and without that tension there. Which you could also get some tension if you're doing the targeting wrong and they think they need to chase it for food. So that is a caveat, and you have to do it correctly, but overall, that's what I would have done. So we're going to go ahead and do some leading, which he's been doing quite well recently. He stops there, backs up. I love how responsive he is to this halter. It's wonderful. So as he's backing up, I'm going to click him and go ahead and give him a treat. And I probably should have gone a bit slower, not necessarily with the teaching of things with Castor, but in how fast I ask him to do things. So like I'm asking him to go this way, I'm asking him to back up, I'm asking him to come forward, and kind of throwing a lot of things at him, and then he's kind of just like, "Oh, what do you want?" So just in asking, I would have been a bit slower just so he's not so confused. So like we'll work on the backup, we'll take a break, we'll work on the going forward, take a break, just because he is so green right now, and I feel like I just threw a little too many things at him. Now he's just thinking that he should be on the other side. But see, I asked him to go on that side, and then I immediately asked him to back up. I should have just gone forward some more, then asked for that so he's not always like, because Castor tends to want to throw behaviors at you. So I definitely should have done a lot more standing in the beginning and waiting. So this is a little bit where that's coming from. So I was doing a little bit of a hindquarter yield there. He's pretty good at that. And he moves sides really nicely, or changes sides while I'm leading him. He does that really well. And really his leading looks good. He's not coming up in front of me as much as we're walking. Like here he still is when he stopped, which I think I should have kept the target definitely out just to show him like, okay, hey, we're going, okay, hey, we're stopping, because he just didn't see the difference there. That was really nice. It wasn't as clear to him. I should have given him a treat when he stopped there because he was confused about it a second ago. So that wasn't really helping because I was having that problem. He did it right and I didn't reward him for it. So that's all right. We make mistakes. This time I got it. The second time he stopped and I gave him a treat for that. But I like how relaxed he is next to me. He's in the great position with his head right next to my shoulder. He's stopping. He's letting me pet him with the rope in my hand, which doesn't seem like a big deal for most horses, but for the Mustangs it was. Just moving the rope around, having the rope touch them, going from leading to having the rope touch them was all big scary things. So just want to take breaks in there and just rub on him and make sure he's okay with all of that stuff. Let him hang out here, get him a treat. I'm just like, while I'm rubbing him with my hand and the rope, I'm just clicking and rewarding because I want him to also be desensitized to me moving around and moving the rope and all that stuff that happens with leading. And he follows that pressure really well. And he's transitioning nicely to leading on the other side. Kind of step through the back or through the stop, but not too bad. He's trying to see if there might be a treat on the ground. That's all right. There we go. I just kind of show him where I want him to be. And that looked really good. See, he's kind of moving away. He's not really sure what I wanted there. He was like, oh, thinks that I want him to move away, but I just wanted to pet on him. So that's why I take a lot of breaks where I'm stopping and petting, making sure he doesn't think I want him to move all the time. But he did quite well, and I really like how responsive he is to the rope. I'm gonna go ahead and take his halter off and give him a jackpot.